The mind is a powerful place. Imagination runs free, and within your mind, you can move mountains. What if you could take your thoughts and turn them into reality? Jean Grey can do exactly that. Jean Grey comes from the X-Men series. She is one of the most powerful X-Men, as she can influence particles on a subatomic level, meaning that she can rearrange the building blocks of the very world around her at will. As Magneto states, she can literally do anything she can think of. Aside from the fictional character herself, there's also the real-life aspect of this character, which includes the actor, her training, the movie, and VFX. We will be diving into all of this and more in our video, The Science of Jean Grey.
Actress Sophie Turner never really had a diet or exercise plan before her role as Jean Grey in the X-Men movies. But after working with James Farmer, her personal trainer, she learned how to manage her diet and plan exercises on a daily basis. For her diet plan, she went on a low-carb, paleo-style diet, which is about getting a decent serving of protein at every meal and not counting all the calories that you're intaking. It's meant to be a relaxed, non-obsessive diet to help maintain the muscle mass she was beginning to build. Good nutrition plans were essential in getting the most out of the new muscle and strength that she was developing through her exercise plans. In the paleo diet, it's important to eat specific dietary carbs because they increase levels of hormone insulin. This is key for muscle growth because it allows muscle protein synthesis to prevent muscle protein breakdown. Protein synthesis is the ability of the body to make new muscles. When protein is eaten, the digestive system breaks it into tiny amino acids, which join together to make actin and myosin. These two proteins are used in a function called the sliding filament theory, which is the process of muscle contraction. In the sliding filament theory, an impulse is sent from the brain and travels down the cell membrane, which causes calcium to bind to actin. This changes the shape of the thin filament, which is basically a long line of actin proteins, and allows myosin heads to form cross bridges between the actin and myosin, connecting the two together and creating a contraction in the muscle, allowing it to move how it's needed to. To release this contraction, ATP comes and attaches to the myosin heads, pulling them away from actin and returning the muscle to its original position. In Turner's diet, it was more important for her to eat protein throughout the day and not all in one meal, as it is beneficial to weight loss while maintaining the muscle you have, which was Turner's goal while preparing for her role as Jean Grey.
In order for Sophie Turner to maintain a lean body mass and good physique for her role Jean Grey, she has to train 5 to 6 times a week. Sophie Turner uses the help of James Farmer to keep her motivated and generate workout plans. As for the preparation for her costume, Turner did 60 minutes of exercise 6 times a week for 3 months. Turner used a form of working out called high-intensity interval training, or HIIT for short. HIIT is an alternative strategy for cardiovascular exercise that has short periods of intensity aerobic exercise with less intense recovery periods. Her workout routine on full body days often consists of a mile run to get her muscles loose and ready to go. In addition, during her full body days, she primarily focuses on the lower body muscle groups like the quadriceps, hamstrings, and glutes. Some of her lower body exercises include box jumps, weighted lunges, weighted step-ups, goblet squats, and back squats. Throughout her workout plan, there are only a couple of upper body workouts in her routine, but they focus on a bunch of muscles such as the pecs, the biceps, the triceps, the deltoids, the external abdominal obliques, the internal abdominal obliques, the rectus abdominis, and the lats. Her favorite upper body workouts include burpees, pull-ups, push-ups, planks, plank to push-up, and overhead press. Turner's main goal through her workout plan that Farmer made was to burn as many calories as possible and gain as much muscle mass in her ideal areas.
Jean Grey is considered to be a mutant, meaning that she possesses the X gene. The X gene allows mutants to develop superhuman powers that manifest at puberty. Jean Grey's mutant abilities manifested in her when she was about 10 after experiencing emotions of a dying friend. Her mutant ability and the X gene can be traced back to an evolution that occurred a long time ago in Homo sapiens. These Homo sapiens, also known as human superiors, generally are assumed to be the next stage in human evolution in the Marvel Universe. Jean Grey is considered an Omega-level mutant in her telepathic abilities, meaning that she is a mutant whose dominant power is deemed to register or reach an undefinable upper limit of the power's specific classification. The X gene is a dominant gene located in the X chromosome. However, since Jean Grey's parents are not mutants, this means that one of them carried the X gene, however, it shut itself down. It turns out shutting genes down is a common phenomenon. Cells can turn off specific genes or even the whole chromosome by taking a long string of DNA and compressing it so tight that it becomes inaccessible to the machinery that would normally turn a gene on. It was shut down for generations until it finally woke up again in Jean Grey, and the gene was dominant again, meaning that she can pass it on to her children.
The effects in the movie Dark Phoenix were done by Rising Sun Pictures, 20th Century Fox, and Rodeo FX. The memory scene was the most creative and VFX intensive scene. The memory scene was when Charles Xavier, or Professor X, had to look inside Jean Grey's mind when she started to become unstable. He used Cerebro to read her memories and see if anything was abnormal. Cerebro was a complex computer that Professor X made, mainly used to locate mutants. In the memory scene, the VFX done by RSP was based on replicating how neurons in the human brain fire and communicate. The VFX supervisor, Dennis Jones, said, "We use neurons like those and their associated electrical activity to define the space and to act as an anchor point to let the audience know we are inside the anatomy of the brain." The neuron mappings were inspired by a TED Talk that Jones saw. In the TED Talk, they took a brain, cut it into components, stained it, and then slice those components in order to log every single neuron in a brain. This mapping is what inspired the VFX studio in making their memory scene. They also added a systematic but random blinking of lights in the background to simulate a brain's thought process. The inky images was created after many hours of thinking by RSP. They found a perfect balance between fluidity and clarity that represented thoughts flowing. The scene was filmed in a literal green cube so that thoughts could fill up the entire screen. Overall, a lot of thought and effort was put into this scene, but it turned out very nice.
One very powerful natural nuclear reaction is nuclear fusion. This occurs when the nuclei of two separate atoms combine to make one new atom, and releases vast amounts of energy in the process. There are also some equations we can use to figure out how much energy is released during these processes. They are shown here. Using this knowledge, we can model how much energy Jean Grey can produce with something very, very simple: water. First, we need to find out how many molecules of H2O are in 1 meters cubed of water. Using dimensional analysis, we have found out that there are 3.34563 times 10 to the 23rd molecules of water in 1 meter cubed. Here's a simple model for a proton-proton fusion chain. Jean Grey will use this chain to generate energy through nuclear fusion. As you can see, 2 protium atoms fuse into 1 deuterium atom. This then fuses with another protium atom to create 1 tritium atom. This also releases some energy in the process. 2 of these tritium atoms fuse into a helium atom and 2 protium atoms are thrown off. The end result? 2 hydrogen atoms are quote-unquote used up to create a helium atom, as well as 26.732 mega electron volts of energy. For ease of understanding, we have converted mega electron volts into joules. As you can see, 26.732 mega electron volts converts into 4.283 times 10 to the negative 12 joules. This is how much energy Jean Grey can produce given 1 molecule of H2O, or 2 hydrogen atoms. We can multiply this by the amount of molecules within 1 meter cubed of water to figure out how much energy Jean Grey can produce given 1 meter cubed of water. The result is 1.433 times 10 to the 17th joules per meter cubed. We can then multiply this by how many cubic meters of water there are on Earth to figure out how much energy Jean Grey can produce given all the water on Earth. The results are astonishing. Jean Grey, given all the water on Earth, can produce 1.986 times 10 to the 29th joules of energy. Writing out this number fully puts into perspective how large this number is. Our conclusion? Jean Grey is incredibly powerful.
Parapsychological phenomena like telekinesis does not correlate with the laws of physics at all. However, we can explain the power of telekinesis using physics. According to the laws of silence, All matter in the universe is made up of tiny, minute particles called atoms. The word atom comes from the Greek term atomos, which means indivisible. Surprisingly, atoms are divisible. We can see a diagram of an atom here. Atoms consist of several negatively charged electrons orbiting around a nucleus made up of positively charged protons and no charged neutrons. We know that all matter is made of atoms and we can prove it. And this trait of matter can be the reason Jean Grey can move objects with her mind. When she moves the atoms that make up an object, the object obviously moves as well.